What's going on, guys? Joe from Flysimware Simulation Software, and we are back with you for another video. And today we're going to be taking a look at something interesting back down at my hangar here at Spruce Creek. And we're going to take a walk out on the ramp right now. We're bringing back, I wanted to take a step back with the videos this time and take a look at one of our previous products and do a little introduction to the aircraft and do a little flight demonstration. Definitely a lot less material to cover with this airplane than there have been in the videos you've seen me do with the some of our later, more complex airplanes. A lot less systems, etc., so on and so forth. But without further ado, let's take a walk out on the ramp and see what we have tied down out here. Okay, so some of you may be familiar with this aircraft. This was released from a couple of years ago and still holds popular with a lot of our fans today. This is the Velocity XL, which is a slightly larger version of the Velocity SE. Very, very unique aircraft design that has some very cool flight characteristics, specifically in its stall spin performance. The airplane stalls extremely benign, and it is virtually impossible to spin. And a lot of that is due to the forward canard that we have up here, this forward wing. Quite a bit of wingspan on that forward canard, actually. You really can't appreciate just how long that canard is. This particular Velocity XL is powered by a Continental TSIO 550 and has a cruising range at 75% power of right around 1,000 nautical, and it's going to do it at about 185 knots true airspeed. So definitely no slouch, and in terms of a true four-place airplane, fantastic cross-country cruiser. You really couldn't ask for a better one in this category. And the airplane actually at 65% power, if you're willing to pull the power back a little bit and save some gas, you can stretch that range up to about 1,250 nautical. So you can get a little bit extra range out of it. But it's a comfortable, with four people and fuel, it's a comfortable 800 nautical mile airplane at 185 knots true airspeed. So it's a great performer. Few interesting design characteristics of the airplane aside from the overall design of the aircraft, which is unique in itself. Fun fact: the Velocity XL was actually built off of the Long Easy design, which, as most of you are probably familiar, was designed by Burt Rutan. So this was a successor, if you will, and paid homage to the Long Easy design, which has fantastic aerodynamic qualities, but it's got some interesting design features other than the obvious. So one is the landing gear, and the way that the landing gear retracts. Landing gear retracts outward, and when it's retracted, it's completely streamlined. So the landing gear retraction mechanism on the airplane is a little bit mechanically complicated, but the Velocity owners out there say it's incredibly reliable, and you definitely get some drag out by having the retractable gear velocity versus the straight gear velocity, and they do make a fixed gear version of this airplane. Another interesting design is the pusher engine configuration. On the Flysimware model, we happen to have a MT composite three-bladed propeller. This is not an aluminum prop, this is a composite prop. And the advantages to a composite prop I'll get into at some point in a later video when the time is right. But in short, the advantages are it's a much lighter propeller, and it's not subject to metal fatigue the way an aluminum propeller is, and they tend to have longer TBOs, which is their time between overhaul intervals, than an aluminum blade would. So MT composite three-bladed propeller on here. Now with the engine in the back, one interesting thing for any pusher prop airplane is coming up with a way to cool the engine, because 90% or 99% of reciprocating piston airplane engines are not liquid cooled. There are a few exceptions to that rule, but as a general rule, these are all air cooled engines. Why? Because it is so much easier to air cool a reciprocating engine on an airplane than it is to liquid cool one. It's also more reliable. It's one less system you have to put on the engine, which is one less system that can fail. So with that said, if you want to air cool an engine that's all the way back here, how do you do that? Because you really need to figure out a way to capture the ram airflow from the relative wind, which is nowhere near the engine. So they did that with a couple of NACA scoops, big NACA scoops, up on top of the airplane. So you can see here these two big NACA scoops, and that is how they get cooling air for the engine. The NACA scoop picks up the air from the relative wind, it uses that to cool the engine, it flows straight through the cowling, and vents right out in front of the propeller. With that, there's also a small NACA scoop in the middle you can probably see, and that's cooling air for the alternator. So moving along, we can see that we've got the airplane tied down out here on the ramp, and we can control the chocks and the tie downs, as well as our pilot visibility through the Flysimware control panel, which many of you are used to at this point. But we'll go ahead and open that up. This is your info page, which gives you a little bit of info about the aircraft, and then here is your hangar page. So we'll go ahead and we'll pull the wheel chocks and the tie downs, and we'll load up our pilot, some luggage, and we'll give him a headset, some sunglasses, do our accessorizing like I say, and we'll go ahead and hop in the airplane. Okay, so here we are in the aircraft itself, and let's take a look and see what we got here. So we have a standard G1000 avionics package with our primary flight display and our navigation display. We have a completely custom-coded electronic comfort control system. This is an option, and in the build package, I probably should mention, I'm not sure if I did earlier, but the Velocity is a completely kit-built airplane. So it's most of these airplanes were built by the guy that owns them. Otherwise, they were essentially all built by a consumer at one point. So there's quite a bit of leeway and freedom in terms of what you want to put in the airplane. And this particular one that we used to model had this electronic climate control system. And we modeled that to the fullest, so you can control the climate, window defroster, all that stuff. That's all fully integrated. Down on the pedestal we have our throttle prop mixture controls, which all use wood handles, just like the aircraft that we used to model. And then we have our G1000 control panel down here as well. And additionally, under the armrest, we have our circuit breaker panel. Very, very cool how they hid the circuit breakers down there. I guess that's a catch-22. I mean, from a pilot standpoint, I don't know if I'd like to have them quite that out of sight. If one pops, you're not really going to see it. But it's a nice little aesthetic touch. So circuit breakers are under the armrest. We have some more, the G1000 buses up here, so all the circuit breakers for the Garmin are up there in plain sight. Although if you had an issue with the Garmin, believe me, you would know it before the circuit breaker popped. We also have our annunciator panel. Only 4 annunciator lights in this airplane. This is our landing gear control, gear selector, 3 green lights, our test feature, and our master battery switch. So let's go ahead and flip the battery on. And you can see our screens come to life, and we can test this panel here, which tests our red lights for the landing gear and the annunciator panels. As you can see, our climate control is turned on right now. We have the air conditioner and the defroster on. We'll go ahead and turn off the defroster. And it's in auto mode at 70 degrees. I can feel myself getting cooler already. Also have over here a nice little integrated stereo system. So this is kind of cool. This is a CD player with a virtual stereo. So you can turn this guy on, and then using our configuration files that we've included with the installer, you can read the instructions and check it out. Very easy. You can actually load up music into your aircraft and listen to it while you fly. Straight through Flight Simulator, controlled with this CD player over in the instrument panel here. Very, very cool stuff. Kind of old school. Glad we did it. The aircraft is a side stick airplane, so you see we have our side sticks over here. Very much the Cirrus mentality in that the side stick is on a canted angle all the time. So a little bit different in terms of which way is up, so to speak. And our standby instruments over here in the corner. So that just about covers the airplane. One other interesting fact, aside from all your switches on the overhead which control, the things like lights and are fairly typical systems, one other thing that is interesting are the fuel gauges. And the fuel gauges are in these little view tubes, which are back here in these baggage cubbies. So those little view tubes are actually showing you that's fuel in that tube, and that's showing you how many gallons you have left in each wing. 60 gallons total in the Velocity. And that's about it. Very simple airplane, very easy airplane to fly, but it's a lot of fun. So what do you guys say that we start up, we'll head out, and I'll talk to you again right before we take the runway.